What's up, everybody? This is an exciting one because Liz and I were able to kind of collaborate and make something pretty awesome. Liz, what did we make?
We made an amazing report that is super easy for you to analyze what is going on a child ASIN level with your products as well as your ads. I know when we were building this together, I was sharing and you were like kind of surprised and like, yeah, to be honest, that's 100% the case. Most sellers are not analyzing their advertising on this level. And we run in some really I don't want to toot our own horn, but like sophisticated circles with like advertising. We're super in the weeds. We're like dialed in, like, hey, I need to know this information to get, results for my ads. And, kind of, I think the really cool thing is when you can be in rooms like that and you notice like all the overlap between how people are looking at things. So both of us were realizing like, I think all of us are looking at views like this to make strategic decisions with our advertising. And the surprising thing is that most sellers, brand managers, like, I don't care if you're not like, if even if you're using an agency or something and you're not running the ads yourself, you should know what's going on. And it's reports like these. But to be honest, finding a report like this, like you have to combine three different, like it's not hard, but you have to combine three different reports. You got to know like what data to aggregate, how to cross check it, what things in the business reports you cross check with your ad reports. Like it's a lot of data cleaning, it's a lot of analysis. And I think most of us have kind of like banged our head against the wall to be like, I need this information, and then walked away with something like the report that we're going to share with you that allows you to get it. Bonus points is you just throw three reports into ChatGPT and it like spits this out. Super
Well,
easy.
yeah. And I think that's the thing that's so great is we're both AI nerds, but there's actually a much more practical side to this because if somebody's not really big on Excel or big on spreadsheets, this is your best friend because if you're using an an Excel template that somebody gives you, if one column gets moved by Amazon, which spoiler alert, that happens all the time, you are about to have your entire report broken. But with a custom GPT, we're using code. So you don't really need to do anything. You don't need to worry about future proofing this report because
Mhm.
the AI did it for you. And to be
Yeah.
clear, Liz and I did not code. We talked to some AI about how to what we wanted the code output to be, but we
Yeah.
coded.
Well, Sean showed me his method. I basically reached out to you because I know you have a ton of other stuff. We've done a video on our channel about how you're using AI. Like, and it's simply, I bought like this one to identify like what you should go after ranking keywords. Like, there's some really cool things you can do with AI. And I was basically like, hey, I know my way around a custom GPT, but I've kind of banged my head against the wall in terms of programming certain things. And I know you're really good at that. So it was definitely a collab partnership, and I appreciate you kind of sharing your knowledge with me. Hopefully I can share some knowledge with the audience as well. But yeah, I'm excited to dive into kind of like how this is helpful. So obviously we probably want to talk about the reports that you need, obviously where to get access to this AI, like which you can have complete access to it, no problem whatsoever. And then maybe like how to analyze outputs.
Yeah. So why don't we just start with the basics and I'll let you take the lead because spoiler alert, Liz was the leader. I was just kind of giving feedback. Liz, what is this thing? What are the reports? What's the exact output? Let's kind of just get the what out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll go through and I'll screen share so we can look at sort of the outcome. Because really, sometimes it's nice to really like, hey, well, what is the outcome? So this is a view that again, this is just going to be a spreadsheet. You can color code it, you can manipulate it in any way that you want. But this is exactly the analysis that we use to go through before this call and we hit record. I was talking about like, hey, we manage clothing accounts. 50,000, hundred thousands of SKUs. Like it's insane, right? And so a report like this is exactly what we use to find those big needle movers in the account. Because everybody knows their top products and they know kind of like you have a basic understanding, but you really need to be able to do a deep dive analytic analysis of kind of like get the lay of the land. And that's what this report helps you do. So what it is you're going to combine your business reports with your ads data. Now, full disclosure, this doesn't include sponsored brand ads. Reason being is you cannot get the incremental data on a product level. I don't care what software you're using. I don't care who tells you, hey, I can get, sponsored brands. All of that is kind of like an algorithmic output. There is no reports in the API. There is no reports in Ad Console that's going to give you the granular data you need to factor those in. So just putting that out there. But most of you are running mostly in sponsored product ads is where the ad spend is. And then we're also combining sponsored display ads in here as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm very much a sponsored products bull. I usually have a very light touch with sponsored brands and sponsored
Mhm.
brands video. There definitely are use cases and there are definitely accounts where we use it a lot more or use it a lot less. But I think I would say probably 90+% of the spend on every account that we manage is sponsored products. So this report to me really gets the 80/20 out of the way, at least, if not the
Mhm.
90/10. And so, yeah, this is very useful, especially if you are maybe a little bit newer to analyzing your reports and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just to summarize, we've got business reports by Child ASIN, and then sponsored sponsored products, advertised product report, so display, advertised product, all blend into one
Mhm.
view, ready to go. Just make sure you get the same date ranges for all three reports, right?
Yep. So I would say same date ranges. The other thing that you'll note is when you go and generate your business report, you will see, like, if you select a date range, you will see a pop-up like, hey, warning, XYZ date may not have data. It's because typically there's at least a 2-day delay on sessions and unit session percentage inside of your business report. So you definitely want to make sure that you're selecting data. The business reports are going to have the biggest delay. So what I found is a good workflow is to get the business reports first. That way you know kind of what dates you need to eliminate, and then just take that same date range and go and pull your sponsored product advertised product report, sponsored display advertised product report, and then in the business reports you want to have a breakdown by child ASIN is the way you SKU. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah,
Breakdown by SKU.
yeah. And there are some people who are really, really, really data focused that I've talked to in the past. And what they'll actually do is they won't join on ASIN. We are joining on ASIN just for anyone who's actually quite data centric. But a lot of people who are like data scientist level want to join on SKU because technically that's a unique value and
Mhm.
ASIN is not unique. So there might be some double counting here. But the thing is, this is going to be 95% correct and
Mm,
100% easier to understand. So that's why we kind of
absolutely.
set it up this way because the people who are going to use this are going to get immediate value and
Mhm.
it just can make sense. I mean, I think more than anything, why don't we give the audience a couple of reasons why they might want to use it? We're not going to dive into use cases yet. I think we should just talk about like why do you want to do this? Like what's good about this?
Yeah, and I think that's because it allows you to have a view of how ads are impacting your total sales. And really, that's what everybody wants to do, right? Like, we want to grow sales and we want to grow profits. But to know if you're doing that or not, you need to have a really good analysis. So maybe let's just walk through sort of the aggregate that this report outputs, like where does it join things? And then we can talk about like how to use it. So the main thing that it joins, obviously you have the parent and child ASIN and you have the titles here, which is helpful because not most of us like memorize every single one of our ASINs. But the other things that I'll look at is it will get your total ad spend. Again, this is going to be a sum of sponsored product and display, total ad sales, sum of display, and then it's going to have ACoS, but this is a blended ACoS. So this is going to be factoring in both your sponsored products and your sponsored display. ACoS is how that works. But then there's other data points here that you have to have your business data or like your sales data and your ads data to be able to calculate. However, most times when you calculate that, the easiest way to do that is going to be on an account level. And what I find, especially in complex accounts, is most times you're managing at an account level, not because you don't want to manage on a product level, which you should be, by the way, but because it's really hard to get this granular level of information into a report. And what we're telling you is like literally download 3 reports, throw it into a chat GPT, boom, you're going to have this output. Takes out second because it's combining data, but honestly, it's way quicker than even if you were copying them into, say, a tool or something. And so total A cost, which we know is your total ad spend divided by your total sales, which in this it's called ordered product sales is what it's defined in the business reports, which is sales. And then your ad sale percentage. So this is what percentage of your total sales are coming from advertising, which again is just going to be your ad sales divided by, again, in this case, ordered product sales. But where this is very helpful is you can look at this now on, in this case, like it's a child ASIN level. So I can say, okay, so total A cost is high here, total A cost is low here. And you can start making strategic decisions on a much more dialed in basis than looking at, okay, so the overall account is this. And then you're trying to figure out, like, where do I move the needle? Now, the other thing that we have in here is, again, the ad conversion rate, which ad conversion rates are, again, this is factoring in both your sponsored product and your sponsored display ads. And then when you go over here, we've added these 2 columns, which honestly, for me in large accounts, I have found to be an absolute freaking game changer, which is a percentage of total sales, which is simply like what are the sales divided by sum total for this product, and then percentage of total ad spend, which is again ad spend for this specific child ASIN divided by the sum total. And oftentimes we know what our bestseller is, or kind of what products are, but oftentimes what I find there's no incrementality as to like what products are we spending the most on, right?
Mhm.
Or when I say, okay, this is my best selling product, my second question is always by how much? Because you'll have product, accounts where it's like, oh, wow, this is my best seller. But, best in that account might be 20% of the total sales volume versus I've seen some accounts where it's like 75 to 80% of total sales are coming from one item, regardless if they have a large catalog. And so then like, oh wow, this is where I need to really dial in the ad strategy because this is the like by far and above the biggest needle mover. Oh, and maybe I should look into the rest of the catalog because I need to find something else. So I'm not like stock goes out of that one product. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden, my total sales are absolutely gone. And these 2 things, again, it tells you, you've heard of the 80/20 rule. Well, it's essentially
Mhm.
just that. But it's not only just looking at the 80/20 of product sales, which again is valuable, but it's marrying that in with your ad efforts, i.e. your ad spend, and going, okay, so where's the 80/20 in my ad spend going? And just by those 2 columns, to be honest, you can start really making strategic moves.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's also one of those things where if you are fairly new to advertising, especially on Amazon, this is one of those things where your percentage of budget is something you really don't pay attention to because why would you? You just, the thing that everyone talks about is you should be in budget all the time,
Hmm.
which is maybe a hot take on my end, but I actually disagree with that. I don't want to be in budget at all
I do
times.
as well. That might be a great future like rant video on why that's completely
Yeah,
false. Yeah, no, I
yeah.
agree. And I think it's they're no fault of business owners because like we've said before, like this data is kind of notoriously difficult to catalog and categorize. And I've been in a lot of tools. And I think there's a lot of fantastic analysis tools out there. And I've talked to all of them, and every single time I talk to one, it's like they're like, oh yeah, we break everything out on a product level. I'm like, fantastic. Can I get percentage columns in there? Like, please.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple tools I've talked with, like, they're amazing, but they'll be like, "Ah, I feel like we're just adding a ton of like," yeah, the columns get wide, right? And at some point
Mhm.
it becomes overwhelming, but I'm like, you have no idea how valuable these 2 columns are. Like, just these alone, super valuable.
Yeah. And instead, what ends up happening is you end up exporting from the tool and then calculating it yourself.
Mhm.
And then you're like, why even bother using this tool if I have to export? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I,
Yeah.
okay. So I want to dive into the use cases because I think there are so many good ones. And I'm literally like itching to start talking about the data on the screen. But I think we should first just quickly cover what are the steps to get this thing working. And I don't know if you have the tool pulled up, if we could show them
I
what it looks
do,
like.
I do.
Oh,
So
let's
basically
go.
it's super simple. It's super simple. I'm calling it the taco spot because honestly, like that's some of the most valuable is getting totally cost on a per product level, like game changer. And so basically all you have to do, upload a business report, a sponsored product advertise product report, a sponsored display advertise product report, see the magic. Like it's literally you don't have to have a prompt, you don't have to do anything, just like click this button, click add photos and files, grab those 3 files from your account, click go, and you're done. And you will have a report like this with again, it might take a little bit to calculate, but once it's calculated, you're good to go.
Yeah. And we're both going to have pages on our website dedicated to this tool. So it'll be easy to get access to. Just go to jungler.com, JUNGLR.com, just like what it says right behind Liz's head, or stonesgoods.com. Both are plural. Stones, STONESGOODS.com. It'll be right there too under our resources section. Um, okay. Are you ready to get into it? I've been holding my breath
Yes,
this whole
this is
time.
my favorite part is the
Yeah.
analysis. My favorite part is the analysis.
Okay.
So, by the way, we've also put a notes column in here just to flag things that we have seen. So, one thing is ad sales percentage. This is a huge one that we look at. I think of ad sales percentage as a scalable way to check your like market share or your ratio of organic to ads. So example here would be like if this is a percentage, okay, so this is like 48% of our total sales are coming from advertising, which means it's a little over 50% of our total sales are organic versus here where we have only 28% of our total sales coming from advertising. So the rest of that 100% is organic. And so just this flag says like if we have high ad sales percentage, that means we have really low organic rankings. Or if we have a low ad sales percentage is like, hey, there's probably room to push ads because we're probably not pushing to grow market share as well. And the sort of the flags for this are ones that we've like pre-coded into the tool because that's what we've seen kind of like universally. If ad sales percentage is below, I believe it was like 10% or something, we've seen like, hey, there's a lot of freaking room here. Or if it's above like 60, it's kind of like, maybe a little bit of a red flag. Go check it. There, by the way, there's also a cross check in here, which this account, we don't have that issue. But if you have a product that has below, I want to say it was like 80 or 75% of the buy box, and you still have ad spend on it, it's going to flag it for you. So again, just kind of a cross check, which again, pre-coded like notes and flags in there.
Yeah. And I want to call out that that was Liz's idea, and I was really jealous that you came up with it because that is genius, and that's something everyone should be looking at. It's something that we look at, but I never think to like build it into any of the tools we built. So, Liz, kudos to you.
Yeah.
That is absolutely
No, definitely. I,
genius.
I think it comes with our looking at clothing accounts. There's constant stock fluctuations. Like, oh my gosh, stock is like the most like ridiculous like in clothing. It's so difficult to keep like black mediums in stock. Forget about it.
As a black medium wearer, I would probably agree with you on that. And so, if anyone wants to send me a gift, black medium. I did want to actually talk about the columns you were just highlighting. So in row 3, that really is the perfect example. And so because we can't see what's in the parent ASIN column, I don't know if maybe this specific product is one where you're advertising a specific child ASIN. For example, the
Hmm.
black medium, because there's lots of stock of that, and there's maybe not so many
Yeah.
of the black 2XLs. But when the ad spend percentage is much higher than the total sales percentage, usually that's something that jumps out at me. And so that's another way you can use this report is to look for imbalances in the catalog. That's one of those easy things that if you see an imbalance, you can quickly jump on it, probably save yourself a lot of headache. At least
Yes,
that's one that
absolutely.
really
So
jumps out at
I'll
me.
I'll let you know like our workflow for something like this. I will go in here. Let's just like get dirty and get into the workflow. Like let's just say we're auditing this account and we're like, all right, What are my needle movers, right? You have your processes, your like bid optimizations, all of those things that are like happening that are based on best practices. And then you have the strategic deep dives into the account. This week's I need to fix X. I would say if you can have an account, a manager, an agency, whoever they are, if they're balancing those two of like best case processes that are just shifting through the account every single week to get the basic needle movers, and then you also have that strategic analysis that says like, all right, these are the, this is the 80/20 of how I make moves in this account. Like those two things working in tandem, that's how you improve accounts 100%. But this is 100% how I do it. Take this account, review this video. This is how we do it. So I would go through and I like to sort both by total sales and then both by percentages
Oh.
of total ad spend. And so this is immediately going to give to me, okay, so this one, maybe we have room. This one is a big one. Maybe I flag this. And I'm just flagging things now. I'm not going to make a decision on any of these yet. I just want to know, where do I probably need to increase stuff? Right? Where am I fine? Where maybe do I need to, all right, so here you see 1%. I'm going to sort by might sort by total sales volume, and then maybe let's look at 0. So here's a great one. That's a fantastic one. Here's a couple of good ones, right? So right now we say, okay, this is what I use to figure out where I probably have imbalanced priorities. So
Mhm.
once I know where my imbalanced priorities are, but that doesn't tell me what to do with ads yet. So
Mhm.
now what I would do is I would go over to, and actually I probably want to freeze up to this column just so I can keep, kind of keep this in line. And then I'm going to go over and say, okay, now I want to look at the ad performance. And ad performance is these 3 columns for me. So my ad performance is my ACoS, but this only tells you ad efficiency. I can't tell you how many times I've seen things like this where it's very possible for you to have, like, this is a classic example. I have 39% ACoS here, which as you can see, like my overall target's maybe it's high, but then total ACoS is like 2%. So in this case, what I can't tell you how often this happens, and that's how you end up with imbalances like this, is where you're in the ad console and you're like, oh man, ACoS is 39%. I need to bring it down. But then you look at your efficiency metrics of total ACoS is like 2%, highly profitable. And ad sale percentage is only like 6%. I have a heck ton of room to push sales at this point. So what I need to do is I need to highlight this and say, okay, now I need to go down to the ads account. So maybe I don't want to spend a lot at 39% ACoS, but it's so profitable at this point. Now I need to go down and strategically reevaluate what's going on. Or let me see if I can find another one. Sometimes you'll end up with a case of, here, this is a fantastic one again. So I flagged this one as, this is a red, this is maybe a problem. And here what I'm seeing is it's a market share problem because ad sale percentage is too high. And again, by the way, this is at a child ASIN level. It might be that you're advertising, like most of your spend is going to one of your variations, which honestly is best practice. So there is sort of that dynamic. So just so you know, when you combine reports and you're looking at advertising, spend, and sales, and then you're combining with business reports on a child ASIN level, it's very common to end up with this like 127% thing that you're seeing. It's due to that. So we have included the parent ASINs on here. You can create a pivot table just to look at things on a listing level. If you're seeing a lot of these weird imbalances, you might want to do that. But either way, this is a classic example of, okay, so maybe our ACoS target in the account would be 40%. Let's just say it's like 40%, right? So in this case, I might say like, well, in terms of like my ACoS, I'm fine. But then I look at my total ACoS and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. That's way too high. Hold up. It's a market share problem. Okay. So whatever I'm doing with this 39% is not leading to market share growth. I'm simply just pushing more into my ads. So maybe it's that it's all autos, it's broad. I don't know. So I'm using this as like ad sale percentage, total ad spend to like, okay, these are the items I need to dig deeper on. And then I'm looking at the ad efficiencies to go, okay, what's going on here? So this one I definitely need to deep dive. This one I need to deep dive for growth. This one
Mhm.
might be, yeah, probably running a little hot. I got to figure out what that looks like. Actually, this one is probably really good to push. So
Hmm.
again, I can look at that or this one. Yeah, we have like insane amounts of efficiencies here. Where is this ad spend going? How do I, push it even more? And so then that's how you go, okay, now I have my strategic. And then in terms of which ones do I tackle first, I would go to the top of the total sales catalog or the top of the total spend. So in this case, I would say, okay, this one, yeah, it has an issue, but it's like 10% and it's only on a product with 2% of total sales. Okay, maybe I'm not so worried about that. But like, wait, this one, I have 6%. That's 11% of my total spend. Okay, so this is probably my main priority first mover for the week. And then I'm also looking at it. Oh, yeah, this is 8%. Okay, these are my two main movers, right? And you could do
Hmm.
3, 4, 5, whatever you have the bandwidth for. But at least I know, like, okay, these are my strategic movers. And then when you go down to the ones where again, maybe you have 4% and then you're like not even advertising at all, that's a great one to just like at least throw it in an auto campaign or something. I mean, you might as well just like get something really quick up because I'm like, hey, I'm not even advertising at all, but wait, this is driving a lot of my sales volume.
And something else, and maybe this is where you're going next, but something else that can help you prioritize is column M right there with
Mhm.
your advertising conversion rate. But
Yes.
then what's really great about this report, and several software solutions I've used in the past don't have this, is they have your advertising conversion rate next to your unit session percentage. Like it's just, oh wait, that's column U, excuse me. But then column M
Yeah.
is unit session. Yeah. And you can drag these
Yeah.
columns around, and
Yeah, I
that's one of the
might
beauties
use
of.
this next to my unit session percentage. Again, for me, this is a flag
Mhm.
similar to how we use ad sale percentages. Like, I need to dig deeper. So whenever I see an imbalance here, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I need to like absolutely burn it. It's like, no, let me go find out what's driving this. And so, absolutely to your point. So it looks like we're pretty good in all of these products, which is great. But the thing that we found is that when the ad conversion rate is lower than the unit session percentage, especially if there's a huge difference, oftentimes what we find is that the keywords that you're spending the most on and you're targeting, oftentimes for ranking purposes, don't have strong conversion rates, which is definitely an issue because you want to be spending on the things that are actually driving sales. So, a great example of this is like, it's not uncommon to see this. Like, we've advertised clothing, by the way, notoriously low conversion rates, but we've often had where it's like the unit session percentage is 4%, but the ad conversion rate's like 8%. And if we
Mhm.
were running the ads at a 4%, like, they would not have been profitable, but they were profitable because we had such strong conversion rates. And that comes through like really strategic targeting. So again, I would be looking at percentage of total spend here just to see again, where am I spending the most? Okay, that's great. This one we're a little off. It's not too bad. This one we might want to, again, it's not a house on fire situation, but it's
Mhm.
let me go and look at what I'm doing with my targeting. Again, because we're doing it on a product level, it's really strategic. And
Mhm.
you can immediately identify where you might have issues. And again, organic ranking is strong. Can it be stronger? Maybe. Or oftentimes, if I fix that imbalance, I can lower ACoS again, right? Because the two factors of ACoS are your cost per clicks and your conversion rate. So if you can increase your conversion rate, again, it's by now that will mean you will have to like figure out which keywords do I spend more on, where do I spend less on. That one's a little bit more gradual of a fix, unless you go into the account. I've seen it sometimes where there's a huge imbalance. It's like unit session percentage is like 12% and the ad conversion rate's like 5. I'm like, oh, hold up. And he'll go into the account, do a strategic deep dive and go, wait, why are we like massively spending on this keyword? Apparently it's for a ranking strategy and there's like 0 conversions on it. Like just get rid of it, go find something that converts, right?
Yeah.
But again, it's a way to go, okay, here's my priorities, here's the issues, and then bonus points because you have these on a child ASIN level. There's now the product targeting tab inside, or not the product targeting, the products tab inside of Ad Console. You can literally go into your ad account, go into the ad console, product tab, grab this child ASIN, pop it in there, search. Then you have a drop down of every single campaign and ad group that that product's being advertised in. And because you know that that's the one you need to fix, you now have a really fantastic way of just going in. All right, so now I know what I need to deep dive. Do I need to push the product more? What do I have? What do I don't have? Do I need to fix conversion rates? Where do I have poor conversion rates and have high ad spend? And then you just start making strategic moves.
Exactly. And I think the other thing that is so handy about this tool is not only can you pull up the child ASIN and be able to just look through every single campaign, you can also then refer
Mm-hmm.
back to the sheet and say, and kind of look back and say,
Mm-hmm.
well, this child ASIN is part of this parent ASIN, but I didn't realize we were spending that much
Mm-hmm.
money on this other child ASIN. So you can start to notice things at the parent level, not just the child level. So there's a ton of value you can get
Mm-hmm.
from this. One thing I did want to call out, and I just didn't want to cut you off, but if you do make this into a pivot table, just know that you'll need to recalculate the percentages because percentages don't
Yeah.
automatically transfer when you make a pivot table. When I was newer at Excel, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Luckily, nothing bad happened, but it could.
Yeah, I know it's not, that's a fantastic point. It's not clean data analysis because sometimes what I've seen is people take like the averages, but that's not, you won't get
No.
correct. So you do want to make calculated columns for any of the percentages.
Yeah. Okay. Liz, I think we could talk about this for another five
I
hours.
know I could, but right there, I think that's enough value. So my recommendations, again, check the links in the descriptions. You'll have a way to go and get access to this GPT. Go download it. And my recommendation is just to download the report. Oftentimes you think like, okay, I have this whole, like, I would recommend generating this report, watching this video, go through, analyze, and just start flagging and looking at things. Most likely what's going to happen, especially if this is the first time that you've done an analysis like this, all these things are going to start jumping out at you. I would recommend pick the top 1 to 3 strategic movers. Again, strategic movers are going to be based on account impact, which is total sales and total ad spend percentages. And then again, use the products tab inside the ad console to really start diving into where you can adjust and fix things.
Yeah. I mean, I would recommend you look at this as many times as you think it's useful. Maybe do it
Hmm.
once a week. Maybe
Yeah.
do it once a month. It really depends on the account volume and how much other things you need to get done. One other thing I did want to offer to the audience, if you really liked this and you want a part two, tell us in the
Yes.
comments. Liz and I get along great. We would love another excuse to collaborate. So just let us know. If you want a part two, if you have questions, if you think there's something wrong with it, send us a message. I'm easy to find on the internet. Liz is easier to find on the internet. So yeah, we really hope that this is as valuable for you as it is for both of us. So seriously, I hope, yeah, thanks to everyone for watching this through and I hope you get value.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that I talk about very often, this sort of strategic analysis, but I definitely love you like pulling out and us breaking it down, hopefully in a way that is valuable. And as Sean said, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And if you have any recommendations for, hey, we would love a deeper dive on this, or how do you go through and how do you use the product tab and what is your thought process for that? We'd be more than happy to dive into those things.
Yeah. Well, look, Liz, thanks again. I think this was an action-packed, valuable episode. Anyone who watched this definitely got value. So, I mean, I got value out of this, and it made me think of a couple of things that I could do in a couple hours when I get back to work on the accounts. So, look, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and yeah, hopefully talk to you all soon.